Okay, it's no secret, iPads are becoming more and more powerful devices for making music. And it's getting kind of impossible to ignore, especially if you're someone who likes making music with hardware, like modern samplers and stuff like that. The reason is a lot of them have the ability to connect to your iPad via USB, USB-C, or USB-B, or whatever. And you can kind of seamlessly send audio back and forth between your iPad. You can use your iPad to augment functions that maybe your sampler doesn't have. So I think it's become just a really indispensable tool for pairing with samplers, especially samplers that support USB audio and MIDI, to just kind of take the sampler that you have and bring it to the next level. I've done some of this on my channel with the SP404 Mark II, and I'm going to be demonstrating some of my favorite apps for augmenting my samplers on iPad. And today I'll be using the MPC Live III just because it has a USB-C out and it's super, super easy to set up. I'm not going to go deep into how to set any of these particular apps up. I'm just going to highlight my 5 favorite apps. I'll tell you what they do, I'll tell you why I like them, and I'll take you through a little demo of them. And yeah, if they look interesting to you, go pick them up, try them out with your sampler, and let's just get into it. These are my 5 favorite apps to use with my samplers. So the first app that I highly recommend that you grab to pair with your sampler, and this will come as no surprise to anyone who's watched my channel, but it's Loopy Pro. Loopy Pro is an insanely powerful live looping app, kind of like a loop station if you've ever used some of the Boss, RC505 and stuff like that. But it's just way more powerful and way more configurable. The way that I have it set up is really, really simple, and that's typically how I like to use it. But the reason this is such a good complement for samplers is a lot of samplers are pretty good at live looping, like the MPC Live III. But one thing that a lot of samplers aren't great at is totally freeform loop pedal style looping. So a lot of times when you're live looping on something like the MPC, you're kind of stuck to a grid always. So before you start looping, you always need to set your BPM and then establish how many bars you're going to record for, and you're kind of on the grid. If you're used to a loop pedal where you don't have to do anything beforehand, you just hit start, play, and then hit stop, and it loops, this kind of unlocks that functionality. And again, with the USB connection, I can send audio and MIDI from my sampler back and forth with Loopy Pro, and you've seen me do this on the channel with the SP404, which is another groove box that can do audio and MIDI over USB. And it's really seamless. I can use my sampler not only as a sound source for drums and whatnot, but I can use it as a MIDI controller. So that pad right there, I've programmed to start recording. It waits for a threshold, I play, and then I hit the pad again when I'm done, and it loops, and my guitar is already running through. So I can loop another part, right? And then if I have effects on my groove box, I can also add kind of live effects to my song. So if I bring my drums back in, I can add the filter on the MPC as a live effect. So if you're into live looping, definitely grab this. And if you want a full dedicated video on how I set these two up, leave a comment below and I will do my best to make that happen. The next app that I recommend, and this is actually kind of a series of apps that you can check out, but it's any of the SWAM modeled instruments. This is just a modeled trumpet that I use all the time on my songs because the MPC Live has some great instruments in it, but it doesn't have a really great trumpet plugin, and I use trumpets constantly. And this is really the best VI of a trumpet that I could find. It's really, really accurate and really expressive, and you can actually get pretty cool results with just playing it right on your iPad screen because your screen acts as like an MPE controller. If you're not sure what that means, it just means that I can do stuff like vibrato by just moving up on a key. And I can bend my pitch. I can even move to different notes. And that gives me a much more realistic trumpet sound. And the routing on this is super easy. I mean, I'm literally just going USB audio 1, 2 out into my sampler, and I can just record with some plugins. I have Air Reverb Pro on there, and I'm just kind of playing along with my song. And like I said, SWAM has a bunch of instruments like this. There's a really beautiful cello, and there's other strings and brass instruments. So definitely check out SWAM. It's worth looking into. I can also use my Groovebox to control SWAM, so I can use the pads here and send MIDI back and forth. But I actually really just like the iPad keyboard that this has because, like I said, it unlocks that MPE kind of expressive stuff. So SWAM Virtual Instruments, highly recommend, especially the trumpet. Go check it out. This one is absolutely crazy. This app is called MIDI Guitar 3. And to be fair, it is in beta. So if you want to check this out, you have to get a test flight account and sign up for their beta tester group. The company is called Jam Origin. But even in beta, I mean, it's pretty mind-blowing. So what's happening here is I'm controlling my synthesizers in my MPC with my guitar as a MIDI controller, and all of that magic is happening inside of my iPad. All I'm doing is I'm sending my audio to the iPad via USB, and then the USB is sending MIDI from this app back out into my iPad and controlling my synths. Again, if you want an advanced tutorial on how to hook this up, let me know. You don't need a USB to be able to do this, but it would just be more complicated because you would need an interface and all that stuff. But I can control any synth on here with my guitar. So like here's my bass. Here's my lead patch. And it's not perfect, right? There's a little bit of latency and it doesn't always get my notes exactly correct, but it is so nice for me as a guitarist to be able to get my ideas down on synth patches without having to kind of figure out how to play them on a keyboard or on the pads. Because depending on how advanced my chords are, that can take a while. And this app goes really deep. You can have a bunch of different effects on your MIDI. You can add different dynamics and stuff. But I just really use it as a basic audio to MIDI converter, and I just kind of tailor my playing to what I want to hear back from the synths. And like I said, it's not perfect, right? If you play fast, it doesn't get all the notes, and it's a little bit of latency, but it's pretty impressive that your iPad is processing the audio to MIDI. I definitely recommend checking this out if you're a guitarist, because being able to control your synths and plugins and multi-samples and stuff with your guitar as a MIDI controller, I mean, it's pretty great. MIDI Guitar 3, check it out. So recently, this new kind of chord generating synth came out called the Orchid by Telepathic Instruments. I think it's Tame Impala's company or idea or something like that. But it's basically a chord generator where you can press a key and then press a number of buttons to generate a specific chord that you want. And I thought it was really cool. I was thinking about checking it out, but it was really expensive. So I was like, man, I wonder if there's an iPad app that can do that. And yes, there is. This is called Chordi. Chordi. It's really cool, and I feel like it's flying under the radar a little bit because I haven't heard too many people talk about it, but it's the same concept where you kind of put custom chords that you determine, and then you can play this keyboard that triggers MIDI in your sampler, and then you give it a chord, right? 9 sus4 to major 9. And you can kind of experiment with different chords that maybe you wouldn't normally come up with on a keyboard. And I really like this because I personally am not looking for a chord generating machine that just gives me chords and just suggests chord progressions. I'd still want to come up with my own chord progressions, and that's what I do when I play the guitar, but my keyboard knowledge is just not nearly as good. So sometimes I'll write a progression on guitar and use this to play those chords on keys, or sometimes I'll just think, you know, let's try a E9 sus4. All right, that sounds good. Let's go to a G major 9. Those chords would take me forever to figure out on keys. So I really like this. It's pretty snappy, and it has some cool customization options. Like you can choose the strum time, so I can get a more dramatic strum in here, like that. You can add bass notes. So let's go like 1 and 2 octaves down. There's some nice bass in there. And I just like this because it allows you to experiment with chords and come up with your own progressions rather than just kind of get a chord library and it just gives you chords. I don't know why, I just think that's cool. Anyways, Cordy, go check it out. And lastly, I gotta shout out Koala Sampler. Now, to be fair, this video is about apps that I like pairing with groove boxes and samplers, but Koala Sampler is just a great sampler in its own right. So maybe it doesn't exactly fit in here. However, if you have a sampler that's lacking features, like say something where you can't do chopping the way you want it or sequencing the way you want it, this is super fun to pair with those samplers and kind of fill in the gaps. The most obvious instance of this is with the SP404 Mark II, which has dedicated Koala sampler integration. And using this with the SP just totally transforms the workflow. The SP is kind of lacking in a lot of places for me on sequencing and building my beats. This really solves those issues, and it's super fun to pair that way. I even use this with the MPC because I like some of the effects on Koala a little more than the MPC, and the sequencing is just dead easy because it's a big touch screen and you work on a grid. So yeah, Koala Sampler, it's super, super powerful to pair with other samplers or just to use as a first sampler. You can put it on your phone, put it on your tablet. I might do a dedicated video on this, just making a beat in it by itself, but it's just so cool. I can't say enough about it. So Koala Sampler, definitely check that out. And that's it. Those are 5 iPad apps that I love making music with and pairing with my samplers. Let me know in the comments what I missed, because I'm sure I missed a bunch of them. And if you haven't tried these, download them, check them out, try them out. I think they're really powerful. Anyways, thanks for hanging. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and make lots of music. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.